Overwatch is a game I used to play a lot back in 2016. I would wake up for school, and right before I had to walk there, I'd put a few rounds in. I wasn't playing Fortnite that much yet. I was hyper focused on this amazing first-person hero shooter, Overwatch. I started playing a good bit before the first new hero was added, Ana, and I loved playing Junkrat all the time. I would sometimes play new heroes, but Junkrat was definitely my main. During this time, I would share my Xbox with my family, and before dinner, we would each take turns playing a match. It was fun to see who would be on fire the longest or get play of the game, even see if you had the most gold medals or not. And at the end, you had cards that would show who did the best in the match. It was a very new and interesting experience for the first summer games, Halloween, and Christmas events. But one of the coolest things was that alongside new LTMs or limited time modes, the loot boxes came with new skins. You could only get these skins during the events, and something that had me hooked was that after every single level you earned, regardless of if the events were going on, you'd be able to get a loot box. You could earn these event loot boxes for free just by leveling up during those updates. As time went on, I kept playing and really enjoying the game. Characters like Doomfist that were very hyped up eventually got added, Orisa was added and had very good lore behind her. Then eventually other games like Fortnite caught my attention and I had stopped playing. I popped back in a month or two later, but then I never really opened the game again. I was never really watching Overwatch creators other than a big few, but I was also seeing those same creators either leave and play different games, or they just stopped uploading as much. People were always grinding the competitive mode that Overwatch had, mostly because they wanted to get gold skins, but at the same time, the Overwatch League, which is the official professional esports for Overwatch, was creating a meta that became unstoppable. GOATS was something that plagued the game for a while. It was boring to watch, it was probably boring to play, and it was the only viable thing, due to a certain hero being added. Brigitte was way too kitted, way too good at everything. She ruined the game a lot. She had the ability to shut pretty much everyone down, and the issue was she was a support. I was not playing during this time and refused to since I saw what was going on. I'll also explain GOATS very quickly. The meta was high sustain, which is a lot of heals and a lot of just staying alive basically. 3 tanks because of the amount of health that tanks had and the ultimates that they had. 3 supports because of just their healing and what they could do to amplify the team. And the first to get an ultimate wins. That's basically what it was. There's definitely videos out there that are like 30 minutes long and explain it perfectly, but that's pretty much a summed up version. This got somewhat fixed after a long time. Overwatch received a big change. Role queue. It forced the 6 players on one team to be divided between 3 roles evenly, except you choose what you want to play before you queue a match. The double shield meta spawned from this, and long queue times kicked in really heavily, and if you wanted to play DPS, or the damage role, you would wait sometimes for 10 minutes or more, but if you wanted to play tank, you might only wait for 3 minutes. When I had returned, it was a little bit after Overwatch 2 was said to be getting a PvE. Their idea was to add on to the story, create more lore, and allow you to fight essentially AI during story missions. They also wanted to add a new game mode attached to the story that allowed for more replayability. Sort of like small hero missions or something, I think that's what they called it. After these 3 years of me not playing, I caught up with all the new heroes: Wrecking Ball, Ashe, Baptiste, Sigma, and Echo. Some had very cool designs and kits, others were very handholdy and easy to play. I had only played for a couple weeks with my little brother, and funnily enough, I actually got him into Overwatch to understand how to work with a team. I don't think it helped as much, but now he has a shit ton of skins in the game that I don't have. Jeff Kaplan was the lead game director for Overwatch and was the person that announced Overwatch 2. He told us what we would be getting out of the next game. He gave us a lot of promises that we already talked about. Another being, in Overwatch 2, we would actually keep all of our skins. Call of Duty could never do this. This was all in late 2019 as well. But obviously, like some of you may know, unless you were just living under a rock or something, COVID happened. This set back pretty much everyone at that time. There was little to no info about Overwatch for a while. Some people called Overwatch 1 during this time a graveyard season because it was said that Overwatch 2 needed as much help as it could get, which that meant there was less attention on the original game. Everyone was relatively okay with this. Reasonable people understood that we would be getting something much better to replace the current game. A lot of creators were leaving the community, the balancing department didn't know what to do with certain characters, the landscape for gaming was changing. Fortnite by this point was going for a couple years, and it had shown that the item shop and battle pass monetization systems could work. Every game was copying that system. Then it was announced that Jeff Kaplan was resigning. This took a lot of people by surprise since that would mean something bad had happened. Either Kaplan did something horrible or he left since his original vision for Overwatch 2 was not going to come to fruition. Creators played some betas on their streams, people were seeing what the actual game was going to be like. People started to realize all that happened for Overwatch 2 was the removal of one tank. In retrospect, we know that pros and some creators actually told the Overwatch team to not remove a tank because it made playing tank solo an absolute nightmare. We received 5v5 due to the problems that roll Q and double shield meta created. In Overwatch 2, they actually fixed this problem indirectly, but still went ahead with 5v5. Orisa and Sigma were the main problem for double shield, and it was because they could cycle through their shields and deal damage at the same time. Reinhardt, obviously, the main guy with a shield, wasn't able to do this. It was either you use your shield or you did damage. You couldn't do both, but they were creating characters that could. Then it was announced that Overwatch 2 is going to be released sooner, but without anything that was promised. It was said that they're currently working on it, and in the meantime we could try the PvP which they had finished. Kiriko, Junker Queen, and Sojourn were 3 heroes we received out of this entire wait. Roll Q is still in the game, and it's now 5v5 instead of 6v6. Loot boxes were completely removed, with the most memorable clip being from XQC because he was saving a shit ton.
They opened my boxes! My 1,256 boxes! I was collecting those, bitch!
Oh, by the way, Overwatch 2 is free to play now, and because of this, anyone that had Overwatch 1 was able to receive the first new hero for free as compensation. If you started playing just day 1 of Overwatch 2, you had to either get to around level 45 of the Battle Pass, or just pay for the Battle Pass to receive the hero sooner. This continued for a while. They included an item shop, they added daily and weekly quests, granting people the ability to earn Overwatch coins, which was their premium currency, but people did the math and realized you had to spend over 450 years to earn everything for free, and this applied to anyone, even the people that spent $40 to $60 on the game. If you wanted to purchase a skin and just skip out on the amount of time spent, you would need to spend 12,000 real life money. $12,000. Competitive was also completely changed to be a card system instead of an SR or skill rating system, and this was a big deal. The main issues with Overwatch 2 was that the players that were in Platinum in Overwatch 1 were boosted up to the highest rank in the game. With Roll Q being in the game, that meant that sometimes a player on your team just did not belong at all, and they couldn't swap off that role that was causing you to lose. The card system allowed for a very messy way players can rank up. You just had to win 7 games, then it was eventually changed to 5, in order to change what rank you were. If you played and per se lost 10 matches, then won 4 in a row, you never saw a single change to your rank or any indicator or any bit of information on what was happening to your rank. This is very depressing. The on fire system, showing what rank you were during a match, the end of match cards, the priority pass, find a group feature, endorsements I think, even your old season progress from before season 31 was all completely removed. The game felt like a shell of its former self at this point. I played Overwatch 2 around its release and tried competitive as much as I could. I dealt with everything. I was also putting in money for the battle pass since it meant I would get the heroes instantly, and it was in wait for the PvE to release. Then we got an absolute bombshell of news. In an almost hour-long dev update, at the very end, we were given the horrible news that PvE for Overwatch 2 was cancelled. Some people who heavily defended the game were trying to cope by saying it's not fully gone, etc., but even now, it's gone. They still ended up releasing 3 story missions for the game, and it was a way to see if people would actually buy it, but this was after they had already given the terrible news. So go figure, not that many people bought it. These missions were also always available since 2019 when Jeff Kaplan announced Overwatch 2 originally. We know this because big streamers said it was playable before, and we saw trailers for these parts of the PvE, there's gameplay out on the internet, it exists. People have played it. It may look slightly different, but it's the same thing. By this point, people were done with Overwatch. They were lied to. People like myself were putting money into their battle passes with hope that it would all pay off. Everyone was leaving. Then suddenly Overwatch 2 was added onto Steam, and people left so many negative reviews for that game. It was absolutely insane. It was hilarious. And you know, some people still felt the need to defend the game and say that those were just people hating, and we were lied to. As time went on, a lot of these things improved from this point, but noticeably, a lot of it started as soon as a little game called Marvel Rivals started to show up. They added loot boxes again, you just can't pay for them. The battle passes give back a little bit of the premium currency. New heroes are always free. You can earn the normal type of credits to get yourself something, mostly in the hero gallery. There's progression for each hero. They fixed competitive a little bit, and the biggest improvement is they finally started up 6v6 again. They also added perks, and hopefully by the time this video comes out, there will be a completely new game mode that is closer to a MOBA than what Overwatch is right now. It seems pretty cool, but I'm leaving it out for this video since, well, I'm just not waiting. Sue me. It really sucks that as a player, the game you enjoyed is only now starting to really improve as soon as there is competition. I understand keeping things a secret to make it a big surprise, but in the first year and a half of Overwatch 2 being out, we got fuck all in terms of something innovating. And clearly, with Rivals showing you can do quite literally anything with your game, and people will be happy, Overwatch started to rev up its engines and finally do something. There's claims that the things that they've been working on have taken several months and they just haven't said anything until now. Some things took a year, couple of years, whatever. Doesn't matter. From public response and understanding, it seems as if they just now are announcing these things or showing it off as soon as there's competition. If it really mattered to them, they would have worked on this as soon as possible and had it done very quickly. For the past few weeks, I've given this game a chance. I played very little ranked just to keep my sanity, but I've played matches that feel closer to ranked than what I would probably get in my placement matches. This is not coming from someone that hits GM or champion or top 500 every season. This is coming from a person that just tried to enjoy the game throughout the years. I do enjoy grinding competitive and playing really sweaty. It can be really fun, but queuing with other people is really important for that, and plus console is a joke when it comes to the actual competitive environment. It's not really the greatest to start in. I know hero bans will be coming soon, and it'll fix potentially a lot of the issues I'm having, but there are a couple characters that I feel just don't belong in the game anymore. Some people might be offended by this, and I do apologize, but Sombra, Widow, Mercy, Sojourn, and Kiriko do not belong in the game in the current state that they are in, especially for 5v5 and some of the time for 6v6. Something that is really fun for their current 6v6 mode is its open queue, which allows everyone to flex around. You don't have to be the same role. But for 5v5, there's role queue. You're dealing with constant counter swapping or tank swapping back and forth, and if the other team has a Widow or pocketed hit scan while your team just won't swap to help you do the same thing or mirror them, you immediately lose the game. If you have a tank that won't swap against the tank that's countering them, if your support won't swap due to counters, there's way too many factors that are immediately out of your control as soon as you load into the game. My first 10 matches or so were very fun since I hadn't played in a while, and I assume my matchmaking whatever number was very low, but as soon as I caught my bearings, the game threw bullshit after bullshit after bullshit at me. This is just the way that the current game is. Kiriko has an ability that removes any negative effects and makes the person immortal. She has a basic attack that, with a headshot, does more damage than Genji's ultimate. Baptiste has an immortality lamp. Zenyatta, a character all about being a glass cannon, was given more survivability so that he was no longer glass and he's just a cannon. In a 5v5 meta, Widow and Hanzo can still one-shot headshot. Sojourn is able to charge up a hit scan beam that can basically one-shot headshot. And Sombra is able to remove your ability to do the thing that hero shooters are all about, which is use your abilities. You do also have other heroes like Orisa, which completely ruin fun in this game and is a way to know that the enemy tank is a sweaty 10-year-old loser that is hellbent on winning a casual match. Lastly, there is also the hero type like Mercy, which requires her own skill set, and ultimately I could probably not be as good as some of the people that play her, but ultimately you do nothing other than pocketed DPS and res. Her kit is boring, and altogether, it just sucks. I do enjoy some parts of the game. Realistically, it's a competitive first-person shooter, and if you aren't as good as other people, you might feel envy for them. But when it comes to the toxic-ass players, the content creator shills that bend over for Blizzard to sign deals and talk positively about the game even when there's problems, or even the gameplay itself of 5v5 and role queue, you really start to see these cracks. I don't think Overwatch 2 is terrible. I think it's a very good free-to-play game. But as someone that spent $60 on it and was constantly trying to play as much as I could for a time, this game just isn't what it was. It has gathered more of itself back as time has went on, but let's be honest, those setbacks are truly the fault of Blizzard. What if we just never got Overwatch 2? What if we stayed in Overwatch 1 and the balancing team actually fixed the game? Maybe we wouldn't be here. I hope that with Rivals being a competitor to the hero shooter scene, Overwatch will continue to try and be better with their game. I don't want Overwatch 2 to just die, because then Marvel Rivals would probably suffer from the same problem: lack of competition. I'm not someone that knows exactly what should happen with Overwatch 2, but just as somewhat blanket statements or ideas to just throw out there, I have a few things I would like to see for the game. 5v5 should probably be removed. Counter-swapping becomes a really big issue even with 5v5 open queue, and it feels like there's not enough people on your team to help. We should probably get rid of role queue since it only makes queue times worse, and speaking of queue times, sometimes it's a slog to wait for a match longer than the match actually plays out for. You can't even find arcade matches that easily, and I think the SBMM is to blame for that, or skill-based matchmaking. Maybe we ease up on that a bit. If it's supposed to be casual and arcade and quick play fun, then your MMR and all that stuff shouldn't really matter. The scoreboard should be tweaked slightly, just as a bit of an inconvenience. I think it makes sense to have tanks be the highest DPS than support. When you're playing 6v6 open queue, it doesn't do this. It's very obnoxious. I obviously talked about some characters, but genuinely, if you removed Sombra and Widow from the game, you would see a lot of happy players. I would definitely be happy. Sombra is the necessary evil for Widow, but without Widow, you have no reason for Sombra. Like, I've talked about it. Sombra removes the fun from the game. And with Widow, she is objectively just not fun to play against. You have to completely change your playstyle to go against Widow, and that's it. No other character makes you change your playstyle like that. You could nerf her so she can't one-shot, but I bet the community would just abuse Mercy since she would be able to boost the Widow to do that. GS Raider has a video that perfectly demonstrates the issues with Widow, and I highly suggest you watch some of his rant videos because you'll have a much better idea of what I'm talking about. He's voiced it very clearly, and his whole channel was about Overwatch. He's switched over to Rivals. I hope Mercy can be changed in the future because as an idea, she is a cool concept and has a nice design, okay? She's got wings, she's got a staff, it's pretty cool, but it allows for the most boring gameplay and experience. Maybe take away her damage boost, change it to something else, get rid of maybe her gun, make it so that her staff can do damage. I don't know. Maybe we can start working on the PvE again. I don't know. I know it's not fully scrapped since they're using the perks a lot throughout the game, and they've been doing that for a bit now, which that is just what the talent trees were promised to be, so maybe we can work on that a little bit. I've definitely said plenty regarding Overwatch 2, and I know this isn't my typical video since I mostly upload Fortnite, but don't worry. I'm trying to keep Fortnite videos to at least once a week, and I work on stuff like this in the meantime just to do something else. But honestly, I think I'm good to uninstall Overwatch 2. Maybe then, when the game really improves, I'll download it again. But in the meantime, I'll just play stuff that I find enjoyable. If you watched up until this point and you're either a returning viewer or someone that just found my channel, let me know if you want to see me do more videos like this where I talk about other games. I found this to be pretty fun, and it was nice to not have to talk about, Fortnite for the 80th time. Thank you all for the most recent support on my channel, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. See ya. Boy.